Get ready with me while I talk about how we have a church on our property. So my dad started off as a contractor. He was almost like a jack of all trades. He did it all. When I started first grade at a private Christian academy, it was also a church who was kind of like running that. Started off by them asking my dad to be the PE teacher, maybe a couple months, I'm not really sure on the timeline. Then they asked him to be the worship leader. My dad's always loved music, and I think he's really good at music. And then as time went on, he ended up becoming the executive pastor and the youth leader as well. So he was the worship leader, the executive pastor, and the youth leader. Then my brother and I switched over to homeschool when I was entering 5th grade, but we continued to attend the church there, of course. My parents went to like a conference thing with like a bunch of the church leadership, and at that conference they were talking about like with the whole Paul and Timothy, how Paul raised Timothy up to go plant his own church. And so they said like, is there any Timothys in here who feel like God is leading them to start their own? And my dad stood up and everybody was like, what? And my dad just felt called to stand up at that point. Well, that began the journey of, okay, what does that mean? Like, are we becoming missionaries, moving, continuing at this church? And what does that look like? My parents were praying about it. And eventually my dad came to the calling of planting a church. So now we had to figure out where are we planting a church at, because we live off of Grand Avenue. We're in Arizona, by the way. There was a property there, and my parents thought, what if planting the church is actually closer than we think? So we started praying over that property. Then some time went on, and we had a man cave / garage on our property. So eventually it came time for us to leave that other church. In the meantime, while we were still praying over that property, we began a ministry, and we actually held it in that garage warehouse because they kind of turned it into like a little sanctuary. A couple years passed, and the Lord has blessed the church with the land that we had prayed over. Now the church has that land, and we are planning on breaking ground pretty soon. Now we're doing where we have 2 services on Sunday, Bible study classes every Saturday night, Wednesday service, and youth group. So that is the story of like kind of how we got the church right next door.